Welcome back to Comic-Con, finally!
I say we survived the blip.
Oh my god, finally.
Alright.
What's up?
The boys.
What are we talking about? What are we talking about?
What? Excuse my language, but I just have to gotta go raw here. What the hell? This season? Did you look at the script? At some point, this thing's like, alright, well, I guess I can do whatever the hell I want to do.
So, after halfway through season 1, I told Eric, I said, you know what? Don't send me scripts and don't send me the show yet. I want to sit down with you. I want the first time I watch it, I want to be sitting next to you so you can tell me, I want to get that shot, and then I want to be able to look to you and say, okay, what's going on? What do you need the music to do? And I did pretty well for about about a season and a half. And then I sat down at the beginning of season 3, and I saw that first 10 minutes. And it was like, and I was like, because I wanted that feeling of like what the audience would feel. And I was the same. I was like, wait, he's not going to go in. Oh shit. Oh my God, he's going to sneeze. He's going to sneeze. And it was like, and then I'm like, you're not going to do it. And then they did it, and I was like, oh my God. And then I'm like, okay, but that feeling, I'm like, well, now I know what we gotta write there, because it's that shock and the violence, but also the absurdity. I mean, that's the thing. Like you said, what the hell? It's absurd what's going on in this world, but yet somehow it feels like a real world, and that's credit to our amazing writers and cast, because they make it feel like this is a real universe, and it's a universe that every week or every episode we're like, I can't believe this happened, but I'm along for the ride, you know?
I love it. Well, as a rock and roll fan, I kind of love that you kind of use that garage band sound for the boys. I guess talk about that.
Yeah, it was interesting because it took us a while to get there, and I'm a guitar player originally too, and not a great one anymore because I don't practice that much, but you know, Eric originally kept saying, oh, we need to find this sound, and it's got to be real garagey, and I kept sort of giving him demos, and every time he was like, no, it's too good. It's just too good. And so we kept getting messier and messier, and he's like, yeah, but even now it still feels like a record, like a rock record. He's like, it needs to feel like the boys, for example, like the guys, they don't have any powers at the time. They have no powers. They just grab whatever they can and scrap. They're scrappy, and they just figure out a way to make it work. He's like, I want you to write a score based in the world of like British punk and rock, you know, that fits, but like I want you to write it with whatever's lying, like figure out how to do what's lying around. And we ended up, you know, going to use, you know, pawn shops and getting guitars and amps that didn't really work or buzzed or made noise. We ended up going to like, you know, dumps and finding, you know, old grills to hit, and we even, you know, the percussion through a lot of it. A lot of the big chunky percussion is actually all the silverware in the drawer from the studio that we threw in a bag and drop it. And we mic'd it, and we create rhythms out of that. And so it's literally like a bunch of metal in a bag. And those are the kind of things that finally Eric's like, oh, that's our sound, because it literally, like the boys, it seems like you looked around the room and you're like, all right, I got to make something to work now with that. Grab it. And that's really where he wanted it to feel like that sort of scrappiness, and it's so much fun to do because, like you said, it's very rock and roll.
I want to know about the transition in your career. I mean, from video games to TV to film. How's it been?
It's, you know, the nice thing about it, because there was a big delineation, even 15, 20 years ago. And people didn't cross over. It was hard to cross over. If you did movies, you did movies. If you did TV, you did TV. And if you did video games, you did video games. And I always hated that, because you're telling a story, no matter what. Any of those, whether it's Medal of Honor or Mass Effect or Supernatural and The Boys or Sausage Party. It doesn't matter. You're still telling a story. And so I always felt like it was really unfair to have to like choose between a medium. And I think it kept a lot of really great, talented people from crisscrossing over. And it's really kind of, along with streaming, where like now TV looks more like movies and movies look more like TV, and video games basically look like movies now too. So it's all kind of like come together. And for us as composers, it makes it great because now I can do any of that stuff. But what was nice is, they all gave me an opportunity to show something that led to something else. And for example, like what I'll say is, so I did a TV show that was it was called America, that was a documentary show, but they wanted a big orchestra that sounded like John Williams-y stuff. And that score is what got me the job to take over for Michael on Medal of Honor. And then I did Medal of Honor, and Medal of Honor got me a job to do a movie at Fox, because it was there was like this big build-up Noble thing, and they thought it sounded like sports music. So I ended up doing a movie called The Comeback for Fox, which then led me to Alvin and the Chipmunks and all these movies at Fox. And then doing, even Mass Effect, I did, Mass Effect was a very, much more electronic and hybrid score, and then that got temped in, some other TV show. So they kind of cross-pollinate, and they opened up doors to the other ones across the genres. And, I don't think that would have happened 20 years earlier. And the fact that that's happening now, what it allows me to do, and I'm very ADD, so I hate having to commit to one style. I hate to only do one thing because I get bored. So to be able to do something like The Boys, and do something like Lost in Space, and do something like Shaft, like that's the kind of career that I want, because I never get bored. Like, to be able to do those three things all within the same year, 2 years ago, that's like a dream for someone who loves all different kinds of music, for someone who loves, really exploring those genres, but still telling stories. It's like, that's amazing. And that, to me, to be able to do that keeps it interesting, keeps it fresh, keeps me from repeating myself too much, all that kind of stuff.
Are you asked with stuff like Shaft or Baywatch? Are you asked to go back and watch some of the original stuff put out, or?
Baywatch, no. Baywatch, they're like, no, don't do anything like the original one. Just it's The Rock and a bunch of really pretty people, make it fun. Now, Shaft was a totally different story, because Shaft was, that is what people ask about themes that have to be used when they have to be used. You cannot make a Shaft movie without using the Isaac Hayes. There is no Shaft without that theme. And so when we first went into it, Tim Story, who I've done 9 movies with now, he's like, we're all using the theme, right? We all know, and of course I'm like, we're absolutely using the theme. And then the real key was like finding players who could envelop that theme and could do it. And so, like, our keyboard player is Myron McKinley, who's music director for Earth, Wind & Fire. And our drummer played with, Diana Ross and Beyonce. And our bass player played on Thriller. It's like we went and we found the best musicians who could bring the new version of what Isaac Hayes did to life for not only Sam Jackson, but also for here's our boys thing, but also for Jesse Usher, and have it feel there's enough youth and contemporaneous to it, but it still knows that its bread is buttered in the Isaac Hayes, and that was the only way to do it. Otherwise, I should just quit, because you don't take a theme like that and let it go.
So, kind of looking on the opposite end now, in complete ignorance, because my steelbook has not arrived yet, but with you being attached to Agent Carter, the Illuminati scene in Doctor Strange, did they pay homage to your score in Agent Carter? Could you tell parts of your work here?
They didn't, and I think I know why they didn't. They actually, I think, used a little bit of the What If Captain Carter music.
Okay.
Because it was Agent Carter, and this is I will admit my sadness. Agent Carter is not considered canon.
It's a variant.
Yeah, it's a variant. It's not canon. So they have this, in What If, they created these other worlds, and her character in Doctor Strange was more related to Captain Carter from that, as opposed to the throwback post-World War II Agent Carter, so that didn't get brought over. I still think that if Agent Carter had been done 3 years later on Disney Plus as part of Marvel, it would have been canon and it would have been an even better show. I think it was a great show. But if it was done streaming where you could get away with some of the things you can't get away with on a network, I think it would have been amazing, because I will say that I mean, Haley Atwell is a magnificent actor and is up for anything and is a goddess, and she can carry so much dramatically that if they could do the right thing with that character, with her, I think she's amazing.
Right.
Thanks, everybody.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Good last question.